Hey guys, it's Tammy. Welcome to my channel. Today I just thought I would talk to you about some of the perfumes that I've sniffed in store. I know I'm always doing sample sniffing videos on my channel, but there are a lot of perfumes that I smell in store that I don't talk to you guys about because I'm always just talking about it in the comments of other people's videos as they're talking about it. And so sometimes I forget to fill you in on some of the newest releases and what my opinions have been on them. So I'm going to start out with the two new releases by Glossier. They have taken their famous Glossier You and they have done a couple new flankers. There is Rêve and Doux. Rêve meaning dream and Doux means soft. And I was very excited when I arrived at Sephora and they actually had them in store. So I absolutely doused one arm in Doux and I doused the other arm in Rêve. So Doux is the white bottle and I was expecting that was the one I was going to like more because it was supposed to have a little bit more of a cozy sandalwood vibe. But as I was smelling Doux, I realized that I was getting the dill smell that I often get in fragrances like Santal 33. And sometimes sandalwood fragrances do that to my nose. I will get not necessarily a dill pickle smell, but definitely dill. And I know that some people have compared it to a softer version of Santal 33, and I would say 100% yes, I agree. That is what it is. It's a softer, cozier version, a more feminine version sort of Santal 33. That's what it is. Now, I didn't expect this, but a few hours later, the dill was gone. And I was left with Glossier You. Now, I love Glossier You. I'm not going to go through an uncomfortable 4, 5, 6 hours of smelling dill before I get to the smell of Glossier You. I'm just going to have Glossier You and experience just that. But yes, after the dill wore off, many hours later, I was left with a smell that was exactly like Glossier You, the original. Now, when it came to Rêve, I have heard that compared to Hypnotic Poison. And again, I would have to say, yes, I totally agree. It reminded me a lot of Hypnotic Poison, but a less smoky, less strong version and a more cozy version. It wasn't quite as Play-Doh-y. It was more just creamy and powdery and soft. I really liked that one. Would I purchase a bottle of Rêve? I'm thinking about it. The Sephora sale is on right now and I'm actually thinking about it. It really is nice. It's very pretty. It's very girly. It does have just a very slight root beer smell to it. It's really pretty. I really like it. It reminds me a little bit of Zara Hypnotic Vanilla. So yeah, I would think about buying a bottle of Glossier You Rêve. So around the time that Maison Margiela Replica Afternoon Delight was coming out and everyone was talking about it, everyone was all abuzz about it, I went to Sephora to try to smell it and it wasn't out on the shelf. But I asked the associate and he said, just a minute, I have it out back and I'm going to go spray it on a tester strip for you. So he brought it to me. I smelled it and I definitely got a very sweet, creamy, caramel cookie kind of smell. It was just pretty. It was just a lovely, sweet smell. And it was strong. And that test strip, I kept it for a couple of weeks and the smell never left that test strip. It still smelled just as strong that whole time. Now, it's not exactly my style. You know, I don't like something that's just purely sweet. I mean, there's not much you can tell from a test strip, but I did decide that it was not one that I would probably go for. It's just not quite my style. It's very, very sweet, very pretty. It's lovely, but it's just not one that I care to have. I don't think I would really wear it, but I was very thankful that he went out back for me and grabbed me a spray before it was even put out on the shelf. So that was really fun. Another time I went away, and I say away, for those of you who don't know, I live on an island. I have to take an 1.5-hour ferry ride and drive 45 minutes to the nearest city where there is a Sephora, there's a Shoppers Drug Mart, there's, you know, Winners, Marshalls, stores where I can go and get perfumes or smell them. So I went to Shoppers. What I was specifically looking for, because there was a big billboard out front that said the Ariana Grande Lovenotes Pink Woods was in stock. So I went in, I didn't see it anywhere, so I asked the associate there, and it was locked up in a cabinet. So she got her key and got it out for me. And as soon as I sprayed it on my skin, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so familiar. At first, honestly, I was thinking it was reminding me of Radiant Nectar, but it wasn't quite that. I'm like, no, it's not quite that. I do have a travel spray of Radiant Nectar, and I enjoy that smell. But that wasn't quite it. It was something musky, something sweet and musky. And so I get out to the car. My husband's like, that smells really pretty. And I'm like, yeah, it does. But it's reminding me of something, and I can't think of it. So I had to look it up. And as soon as I saw Byredo Bal d'Afrique in the reminds me of, I was like, yes, that's it. It's Bal d'Afrique. Now, does it smell like the Rare Beauty? There's a Rare Beauty, I forget the name of it. I'll pop a picture of it up. It is reminiscent of the Rare Beauty one, but that is a little bit lighter in my opinion, a little bit fresher. Whereas I think that Pinkwood smells almost identical to Byredo Bal d'Afrique. Now, another day, this was a totally different day, I went into that same Shoppers and I was looking for the new YSL Libre flanker, which was Flowers and Flames. I asked her about it and she said, well, it has just come in, but it is behind the desk. She said, I will get a test strip and spray it for you. And I actually asked her to spray it on my skin as well, which she did. And at first I was like, oh, I finally found a Libre flanker that I love, because I really loved the opening. It had that really kind of sexy jasmine that certain fragrances have. You know, the sexy jasmine, when jasmine's really sexy and done with a lot of vanilla and woods and I don't know. It was reminding me of that in the beginning. And I was pretty excited. I'm like, oh, and I love the name, Flowers and Flames. And I was pretty excited. I'm like, I found a Libre flanker that I am going to actually enjoy. And after an hour, it was just plain old Libre. It was just, all of the specialness had faded away and all that was left was Libre. And strong, my gosh. That test strip I had in my little like crossbody bag, and like a couple weeks later, I pulled that out and I could smell that just as strong, and the whole inside of my bag smelled like Libre. It was super strong. I think it's my favorite. I think it's the best one, but it's still, I just can't get Libre to work for me. So one day I was up in, not in the city I usually go to, but up where my sister lives, and we were going out with the kids, taking them to the mall. And I'm like, I have to pop into Sephora just to see if they have two new ones I'm looking for. At the time, it was Burberry Goddess Intense, and it was Gorgeous Orchid by Gucci. So I sprayed one on one hand and one on the other. I didn't like Burberry Goddess Intense. I love Burberry Goddess. I have a travel size of it. I would think of actually buying a full size because it is a vanilla that I really love. I really get the cacao in it. And it's just so cozy to me. I love it. It's simple, but it's interesting, and I love it. There was something about the Intense I didn't like. I feel like the lavender came out way more strongly. I think the patchouli in it was okay. I didn't mind the patchouli, but the lavender, it was getting a little bit close to Libre. And what I think I don't like about Libre is the lavender. It's a little too kind of masculine leaning in my opinion. And so that was happening with Burberry Goddess Intense. And on the other hand, I sprayed Gorgeous Orchid. And I really liked that. Now, it was, to me, kind of simple, kind of ordinary, like something I've smelled a dozen times before, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really pretty. And from what I've been hearing from Veronica from Veronica Says and Jackie from Jack's Beautiful You, is that once you actually do a full wear test with this, it's actually pretty special. So I do want to do that. I'm actually thinking about getting a travel size in the Sephora sale. What I have in my basket right now, you guys, in the Sephora sale, and I'm not going to do a video on the Sephora sale this year because I don't even know if I'm going to purchase anything from it. But what I actually have in my basket, I only have one thing in there right now, and it's Fenty. It's a full bottle of Fenty. That's what I have in there, and I'm thinking about pulling the trigger on that, but I'll let you know. Now, when I went to Boston, my husband and I took my son down to Boston. We had a little family vacation, dropped him off at the airport for him to fly out to Australia for a year. He was doing great, you guys. He did have a job working at a vintage clothing shop, but now he just got a new job at the Grand Hyatt in Melbourne. So I'm pretty excited for him. He is doing so well, and I get to talk to him every day. It's really not that bad having him in Australia. Like it's actually fun. I get to see the world through his eyes, see what he's doing. He takes us with him on the train, takes us, you know, on walks to his favorite coffee shop, and it's really actually fun. But while we were in Boston, I got to go to, I think it was Neiman Marcus that I went to, and also the Sephora there. I mean, I'm sure there's several Sephoras in Boston. I was just blown away by what they had in the Sephora there compared to the Sephoras here. There was so much there. I finally got to smell the 4 Jackie Aina perfumes. Ever since they came out on Sephora Canada, And they've never been in store in Sephora, Canada, at least not in my area. But ever since they came out online on Sephora.ca, they've been out of stock the whole time. I don't even think they ever actually were in stock even for a moment. So I've always wanted to smell those. I had that little discovery set in my loves list for ages. So I finally got to smell those. There was nothing that stood out to me. They were all like very designery smelling, but they were all nice. I liked them all, but there was nothing that stood out like, oh, I got to have this. Also that day I got to smell Ellis Brooklyn Hello Sky. I mean, Dear Sky. I don't know where I came up with the name Hello Sky. And I didn't love that one. It had sort of a musty citrusy smell to me. The musk just went a little dusty musty, and it just wasn't that pleasant to me. It just had a very dank, dusty smell to me. And I've actually had a chance to smell it again since, because they have now gotten it into the Sephora in my city near me. And I got the same vibe from it the second time I smelled it. So that just wasn't a love for me, but I could see how it could be really pretty. And I also got to smell Candied Lychee by the Seven Virtues. And that definitely smelled a lot like sour candy to me, like the sweeter kinds of sour candy, if that makes sense, like the watermelon sour candy or something like that. It was quite pretty, but that's just not my style. It's just not something that I gravitate towards, but I thought it was lovely. And one that I had not gotten to smell at home, they never had it out on the shelves, was Dolce and Gabbana Devotion Intense. So, and I've never even told you guys what I thought of the original Devotion by Dolce & Gabbana. I don't think I've ever talked about it. I didn't like it at first, I have to be honest. I tried it 2 or 3 times, and every time I was getting citrus cleaner. But eventually that kind of grew on me. I just kept trying it every time I went to the store. I think about the 4th time I tried it, I was like, okay, it is kind of like the citrus gourmands, which is a little bit too heavy on the sharp citrus to me. But when I got to smell the Intense, I realized how much I appreciated the original Devotion, because I don't like the Intense at all. I don't prefer like an orangey smell. To me, I just don't, especially with that hazelnut. I would definitely give it another try again though, because I know opinions can change. So I haven't completely shut my mind off to it, but I didn't really enjoy it. So when I went into Neiman Marcus, I had to kind of make a choice of, I had 4 spots available, here, 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 and here. I did actually take the cap off Amore Cafe by Mancera and smell that. And I already knew I wouldn't like it by the descriptions, because I don't like anything that has coffee but is heavy on the sweet. It's like coffee with too much sweet creamer, like the International Delight French Vanilla Creamer. And I knew that's how it would smell, and that is how it smelled. I didn't even spray it on, but just like I took the cap off, and it's a Mancera, so it's pretty strong. And when I smelled it, I was like, yeah, just what I thought. Don't like it. Now, again, I would give it a try, would give it another try. It's okay. It's just not my style. I just know that I don't like the overly sweet coffee scents. I like something with the contrast. I like that little bit of bitterness and earthiness to balance out the sweetness in Amore Cafe. To me, just from a quick sniff, didn't have that. But the ones that I actually sprayed on, I finally sprayed Delina La Rose on myself, and I thought that was so pretty. I really liked that one. Now, it smelled a lot like Ellis Brooklyn Rose. And I always say rose because there's 2 R's for some reason, but so it would remind you a little bit of Chloe in a way, but it was even sweeter and prettier, more like Rose by Ellis Brooklyn is. And I own a travel size of that, so I'm very familiar with the smell of it. And that's what it was giving me. I also sprayed Perfumes de Marly Meliora on my arm for the first time. And I always thought that I wouldn't like it because it is compared to Amethyst by Lalique. And I don't like that. I don't get any of the berry in that. I only get the green. And I was right. I did not like Meliora at all. It was kind of sour and musty florally. And I was getting a lot of the greenery, a lot of the green, and not the berries. That's what I was expecting. What it smelled like to me was if you took vegetables and made them into candy. And someone said, here, would you like a spinach candy? Would you like a celery candy? Like, it was like vegetables made into candy. I didn't like it at all, and it just had like a weird kind of just sourness to it that I didn't like. Now, one that I had been wanting to spray, so that was 2 of the spots, Meliora and Delina La Rose. The other 2 spots I sprayed, one was Xerjoff Bouquet Ideal or Bouquet Ideal. I'm not sure how to say that. And I thought that was very pretty. When I first sprayed it, I was in love with the opening. The opening was like, oh, I'm getting it right now. I'm getting it. Like the opening was gorgeous. I loved it. But as it dried down, it just kept on getting sweeter and sweeter. And that pretty like sexy muskiness that I got in the opening kind of faded away. And so I was kind of left with just a sweet, something very pretty. It reminded me of like a warm gingerbread cake right out of the oven. That's what it reminded me of. But just a cakey smell isn't something that really grabs my attention. So I kind of realized that that wasn't necessarily the one for me. And the last final spot on my skin that I had left, I sprayed Initio Magnetic Blend 7. And that was the one that captured my attention for the day. That it's very faint, but it is so mysterious, and it is a skin mask that is so pleasant, so pretty. I just absolutely loved it. And I've noticed they have a really good price on it on Fragrance Buy. And so I've even thought about getting it just because it was so alluring and so like, even though it was faint, oh, every time I smelled it, I was just like, oh my goodness, oh, I really like this. So that was kind of the winner of the day when I went to Neiman Marcus in Boston that day. Hey guys, Editing Tam here. I'm not sure how I forgot to mention this, but I also got to try the new one from Parfums de Marly that day, Palatine or Palatine. And that was just, to me, a very violety, powdery scent. It didn't have a lot of character to it, didn't have much to it at all. It actually reminded me a lot of Guerlain Insolence, and I'm not sure if it was the EDT or the EDP that it reminded me more of. I actually have samples of both, and since I, didn't have a sample to bring home with me, I haven't been able to compare them, but that is what it put me in mind of, and that is one of my less favorite scent profiles. So definitely Palatine or Palatine was not for me. And I'm sorry I forgot to mention that. And there's one more new release that I want to talk about that I actually purchased a travel size of. So DEDCOOL, which I've been loving. I've been talking about DEDCOOL a lot on my channel. I've been loving that brand. They have a brand new release called Aura. And I just had to get my nose on that. So I ordered a travel size. And when I first smelled it, I kind of decided I was not going to keep it because it smelled exactly like Miami Glow by JLo. Like identical to Miami Glow, which I already decluttered. I gave that to my niece. And it's not that I don't like the smell. It's just that it wasn't really feeling like me. So I did decide to keep DEDCOOL Aura because I'm like, well, I don't have Miami Glow anymore, and I didn't hate it. Like, it was pretty, and I feel like this is a more natural alternative if you like Miami Glow but you're not sure about the chemicals and the phthalates and everything that's in it, and you want something a little more clean, a little safer, that you feel better about wearing. I think DEDCOOL is a brand that you can feel safe about. And I mean, it's pretty. I'm not going to spray it because these fragrances are so oily. It's going to leave an oily residue all over the desk here. But I mean, I have not tried them side by side. But I mean, I did own that fragrance for a while. I'm pretty familiar with it. And as soon as I sprayed this, I was like, yes, this is Miami Glow. I think it'll be kind of a cute summery scent. It is really pretty and fruity. Kind of reminds me of pineapple with musk, sort of. Yeah, I like it. I also just want to mention that something that I smelled in store that I had decided no, was not for me, but I had actually ordered it before I went away to the store. So I smelled it in store knowing that I had ordered it and it was on its way to me. And as soon as I smelled it in store, I thought I'm gonna have to return it. And that was the new body butter by Glossier You. When I had applied that lotion to my arm in the store, it had no smell to it at all. It just smelled like kind of like sweaty skin, sort of. It did not smell like Glossier You. When it came, I opened it just to see if it was sealed. I thought if it's sealed, then I'll just return it. But it wasn't sealed. It just had one of these on it. So I'm like, well, at least it's lotion. It's lotion. I'll keep it. Like, you can always use lotion. Every time I get out of the bath or the shower, I always apply lotion. I don't love the texture. It's very moisturizing, but it actually is called Dry Touch Body Butter. Yeah, so I think the problem with the store version of this was it wasn't sealed up. It had just kind of been opened so many times that the smell had sort of dissipated, at least on the surface. And, you know, I think if you keep this sealed up really nicely, now I don't like red, so I'm obviously not going to put this out anywhere. I'll keep it in my closet. But I wore this the other day and I smelled like I was wearing Glossier You all day. So I was really pleased that I did decide to keep this and give it another try. So out of all these ones that I have smelled, I would say, obviously I did purchase Aura. I would think about purchasing Glossier You Rêve. That's one that I'm actually thinking about. That's probably the one I'm leaning towards purchasing the most. And in second place, the one I would think about purchasing, at least a travel size of, would be Gucci Gorgeous Orchid. That really is pretty, and I think that there is something special about it. Even though it is, you know, nothing groundbreaking, that's okay. Like, you don't need every fragrance to be challenging and to smell very, you know, niche and out there. Like, it's okay to have something that's just very nice and pretty. And it's just like, it kind of reminds me, and I've heard someone say this lately, that it reminded them of a marine version of Burberry Goddess. I can't remember who said that, but whoever it was, yes, I agree. It was sort of sweet and pretty in the way Burberry Goddess is, but it did have something a little more fresh and a little bit more special to it. So guys, that was just a little recap of what I have smelled in store, the newer releases that I have smelled in the past few months that I haven't mentioned yet on my channel. And I will have a sample sniffing video coming up very soon for you guys. But I really appreciate you guys joining me today. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.